subscribe and like. And tell your friends about this video.
My name is Charles Whitaker. I turned 72 this January. Once, people stood when I entered the room. Now, the only thing that rises is the dust on the hospital blinds when the nurse cracks open the window for 5 minutes at 10 a.m., room 308. That's what I've become. A number. A forgotten wing in St. Michael's geriatric unit in suburban Illinois. They say the floor is for transition care, but we all know what that means. It's the long hallway before the grave. I used to wear a uniform. U.S. Army. 1st Battalion, Afghanistan. Bronze Star. I saw things I still can't talk about. Not because I'm weak, but because some ghosts need silence to rest. I came back, broken in places no doctor could stitch. Still, I built a family. Married Judith, 41 years of marriage until the cancer took her in 2009. Raised 2 kids, Michael and Anna. Gave them everything I never had: piano lessons, private school, safe neighborhoods. I missed birthdays on deployment so they could have college degrees. I sold my father's watch to cover Anna's first rent in New York. And now? They dropped me off here like an unwanted dog during a summer road trip. I remember the moment. 2 years ago. I fell, small stroke. Nothing dramatic. Just a reminder that the clock was ticking. They came with tight smiles and shallow hugs. Michael handled the forms, Anna checked her phone. Just for a little while, Dad, she said, avoiding my eyes. You'll get the best care, Michael added, adjusting his expensive cufflinks. They left after 20 minutes. The nurse asked if they'd return tomorrow. I said yes. They didn't. I lie to myself less now. Every morning, the same white ceiling greets me. The same stale coffee. Same hallway sounds, the rattle of carts, the hollow shuffle of slippers, someone crying behind thin drywall. People vanish here. One day the bed across is full. Next day, it's made and cold. Nobody calls. Not even on my birthday. They tell the nurse to send flowers. No card. I was once the man who taught my son to throw a baseball. Now he sends automated arrangements and signs, "Love you always, Mike." As if flowers can hold my hand or ask me how I slept. I used to laugh, deep, belly-shaking laughs. Now, I listen for the janitor's humming just to remember what joy sounds like. They say your life flashes before your eyes before you die. Mine flashes in slow motion every goddamn day I sit in this bed. Mr. Whitaker, the nurse said this morning. Any family visiting today? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to lie. But I looked her in the eyes and simply said, no. Just me and the ghosts. And she smiled that small, pitying smile. The kind they reserve for the forgotten. But something changed today. Not big. Not loud. Just a click. A shift. A voice inside me, low and firm, whispered. You're not done yet. Yesterday, a volunteer brought in crayons and construction paper. A therapeutic activity, they called it. Most of the residents just stared or scribbled clouds. One woman drew the same cat she's drawn for 5 years. I didn't touch a crayon. What would I draw? A locked door. A dinner table with only one chair. Maybe just a mirror, cracked and used. That night, I stared at the ceiling and thought of my old study. Shelves lined with medals, framed photos, a dusty globe Judith gave me for our anniversary. Michael used to sit on my lap while I pointed to countries I'd been to. He thought I was a hero. Now, I'm not even his calendar reminder. Anna, she used to cry when I missed her ballet recitals. Now she cries on podcasts about self-care and trauma. She calls herself a survivor of emotional distance. As if I chose war over bedtime stories. As if I didn't carry her baby photo in my helmet. There's a new nurse, Eliza. Young. Soft-spoken. Too kind for a place like this. She brings me warm tea instead of whatever the kitchen sludge is. She asks about my life before room 308. I heard you were a soldier, she asked yesterday, kneeling beside my bed like I mattered. I was a father first, I replied. She smiled, not the way staff usually do. Hers reached the eyes. And for a moment, the fluorescent walls faded. I asked her something I hadn't asked in years. Do you think people forget because they don't care? Or because they're afraid to remember? She paused. Then whispered. Sometimes, people leave the ones who remind them of who they failed to become. That stuck with me all night. Like a nail in a rotten beam, holding, but barely. This morning, something strange happened. A letter. Not from Michael. Not from Anna. No return address. Inside, a photo. Old. Torn at the edges. Me in uniform. Judith beside me. Her eyes bright, even back then. On the back, in handwriting I didn't recognize. He still lives here. Even if they forgot. No name. No explanation. But something inside me stirred. Not hope. Not yet. More like gravity. A pull toward something. That night, I opened the bottom drawer of my nightstand, where they keep forgotten sweaters and plastic rosaries. At the very back, wrapped in a tissue, was the pocket knife Michael gave me at 13. He engraved it himself. To Dad, my hero. I stared at those words for a long time. Not with pain. With clarity. They didn't bury me. They just walked away from the living man who used to hold their whole world in his arms. And maybe, just maybe, that was their failure, not mine. There's a strange thing that happens when you stop waiting. The body loosens. The heart slows down. The mind gets clear. I didn't realize how long I'd been holding my breath, hoping for a call, a visit, a scrap of validation. Until I finally exhaled. And silence became my ally. This morning, Eliza found me out of bed. First time in months. Mr. Whitaker. You should have called me. Not dead yet, I said, reaching for the window. Just needed to see the sky before someone else writes my eulogy. She smiled again, that same honest, human smile, and brought me a proper chair. I sat there for an hour. Watching. Leaves fell. Clouds moved. The world still spun. Without me, but still. And I whispered something to myself. They may have left me here, but I never left myself. Later that day, I asked Eliza if there was a typewriter in the building. She blinked. A typewriter. They used to call me Whitaker the wordsmith when I was young. Letters. Speeches. Reports. I haven't written in years. She found an old electric one in the staff storage. Yellow keys. Slight rust. But it worked. She brought it to me with a quiet reverence, like she was handing a priest his altar book. What will you write? She asked. I stared at the blank paper and said. Everything they forgot. I wrote the first letter to Anna. Not angry. Not bitter. Just, clean. Dear Anna. You were always the first to cry at my absence. I carried that pain. Every mile, every deployment. I heard your voice in sandstorms. I held your birthday card in trenches. I'm not writing to ask why you left me here. I'm writing to remind you that I was never just a uniform. I was the man who built your bookshelf from scratch. Who stayed up until 3 a.m. helping with your math homework, even though I was terrible at math. I remember everything. And I forgive you. I didn't sign it, Dad. I signed it, Charles Whitaker. Because it's time they remembered the name, not just the title. The second letter went to Michael. That one hurt more. Because he always wanted to be me. Until he didn't. Dear Michael. You called me your hero once. Then you called me too much. I carried your silence heavier than I carried any weapon. I forgive your absence. But I don't accept it. You're better than this. You were raised better than this. Come see me. Or don't. But know that I remember the boy who cried when he thought I died overseas. He's still in there somewhere. Wake him up. I wrote a third letter. To myself. Dear Charlie. You're still here. That's enough. I left all 3 letters on the nightstand. Didn't tell Eliza. Didn't plan to mail them. That wasn't the point. The point was this. I remembered who I was. Tomorrow, I'll ask for a haircut. The first in 4 months. And I'll sit by the window again. With my medals on the tray beside me. Let them rust. Let the world forget. I haven't. 3 days after I wrote the letters, I found Michael standing in the hallway. At first, I thought it was a hallucination. Happens sometimes around 5 p.m. Brain gets tired, memories sneak in, wearing real faces. But it was him. Same square jaw. Same stormy eyes. Wearing a black coat he didn't take off. He stood by the door like he wasn't sure if he should enter. Michael. I said, quieter than I meant to. He didn't speak right away. Then. Eliza called me. Said you'd asked for a typewriter. So that's how he knew. Of course. Eliza. Bless her, and curse her just a little. He stepped inside, slowly. Looked around like the room might bite him. You okay, Dad? Do I look okay? I said, without venom. He laughed once, awkward, hollow. I gestured to the chair by the window. Sit, or stand. But don't hover. I'm too old to tolerate ghosts. He sat. Silence settled between us, thick as dust. He looked older than I remembered. Gray starting at the temples. Worry lines on a face that used to be carefree. Maybe he wasn't sleeping either. Why now? I asked. He took a breath. I didn't know what to say. After we left you here. You mean after you abandoned me? He winced. Not the way a guilty man flinches. More like someone who just realized the mirror does work after all. It was Anna's idea, he said. She thought you'd be safer here. And what did you think? He didn't answer. So I filled in the silence. You thought I wouldn't remember. That I was just old. Fading. Easier to store than to deal with. Still nothing. He couldn't even meet my eyes. And then, I saw it. Not defiance. Not pride. Shame. That same shame he had when he was 10 and broke a neighbor's window and tried to blame the wind. He was still that boy. Just in a bigger suit. I don't hate you, Michael, I said. But I won't apologize for surviving long enough to be inconvenient. That cut deep. I didn't want to forget you, he whispered. It just got easier not to remember. And there it was. The confession I never expected. We sat there for a long time. No grand gestures. No apologies that could untangle the years. Just breath. Shared space. Then he noticed the typewriter on the tray. What are you writing? Letters, I said. Reminders. To who? People who think I'm gone. He swallowed hard. Can I read one? I reached under the stack and pulled out the one I wrote to him. Handed it over like a loaded weapon. He read it. Quietly. Carefully. By the end, his eyes were glass. You still believe in me? He asked. I didn't answer with words. I just looked at him, long and steady. The way a father looks at his son before sending him into the world with nothing but hope and love. When he left, he paused at the door. Dad, would it be okay if I came back next week? If you bring decent coffee, maybe. He smiled, a real one this time. And for a second, I saw that little boy again. When he disappeared down the hallway, Eliza peeked in. So, how did it go? Like peeling off an old bandage, I said. Not clean. But necessary. She nodded. Then, quietly. He cried in the hallway. I slept better that night. Not because he came back. But because I didn't beg him to. I am not a forgotten man. Not anymore. They used to say, when a soldier goes quiet, it's never by accident. I've been quiet for years. But silence isn't surrender. Silence prepares the ground. The day after Michael left, Eliza rolled in a bulletin board from the community room. We're starting a display, she said. Residents can put up pieces of their story. Memories. Advice. Art. Whatever matters. Most gave her pictures of grandkids or old postcards. I gave her the truth. 3 letters. 1 photograph. My bronze star. And the note that came with it, signed by a general who never visited this place. Are you sure? She asked. Yes, I said. Let them remember who walks these halls. It started small. A staff member paused in front of the board. Then another. Then the mailman. Then a young intern who asked, was he really in Kabul? People stopped me in the hall now. Not with pity. With respect. Some even called me Mr. Whitaker again, the way they used to before I was just room 308. One night, I caught Eliza reading the letter to Anna. She had tears on her cheeks. You write like a man who still believes in people, she whispered. I believe in accountability, I said. That's the most dangerous kind of hope. A week later, Anna called. Anna. The voice I hadn't heard in over 2 years. It came through Eliza's phone while she was on lunch. I answered by instinct. Dad. Her voice cracked like dry wood. Yes, I said. Come. Firm. I saw your letter. Michael showed me. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything, I replied. I was scared. Of the guilt. Of what I'd become. And yet, I said, you became it anyway. Silence. Then. I don't deserve forgiveness. That's not what it's about. Then what is it about? I let the words sit a moment before answering. It's about remembering who you were, before the world made forgetting convenient. She cried. I listened. And I did not comfort her. Not because I couldn't. But because some healing only begins after the pain is heard all the way through. They both came to visit the following week. No flowers. No fake smiles. Just coffee. 2 folding chairs. And 3 people trying to rebuild something without pretending it was never broken. Anna apologized. Michael said he was ashamed. I didn't absolve them. Instead, I said. I accept who you are. And I expect more from you now. Later that day, Eliza asked why I didn't offer forgiveness outright. You wrote letters. You let them in. But you made them sit in their discomfort. Why? Because that's how you teach grown children, I said. With honesty. Not comfort. That was always the job. She nodded, slowly. Then. Mr. Whitaker, were you ever a teacher? I smiled. Only every day of my life. You see, I wasn't just a soldier. Or a father. Or a husband. I was a mirror. And for too long, they looked away. Now, I've made them look again. Last week, they moved me to a brighter room. Not because I'm sicker. Because I asked. Simple as that. I said, I want light. Not shadows. And for once, they listened. Funny how things change when you stop asking for permission to matter. Michael visits every Saturday now. He brings books I've already read, and coffee I actually drink. Anna comes once a month. Quiet, guilt still in her bones, but she's trying. That's enough. For now. She brought my old photo albums, the ones I thought she left in her garage. They still smelled like cedar and faint perfume from Judith's old closet. We looked through them last week. Page by page. She pointed at the past like it was a stranger. You were happy here, she said once, softly. No, I replied. We were. That's the part you forgot. Eliza says I've changed the whole floor. Residents ask for paper now. 4 typewriters. 4 voice. The staff started a new bulletin board, before this place. Every room contributes. Not just memories. But declarations. A janitor stopped me in the hallway yesterday. Mr. Whitaker, he said, I told my daughter about you. About your letters. She wrote her grandfather because of you. I just nodded. Because that's what legacy really is. It's not trophies. It's not medals. It's not even family. It's the quiet echo of a truth that refuses to die in silence. I wrote one final letter. Not to my kids. Not to the government. To myself. Dear Charlie. You were never forgotten. You just outlived the noise. Some people only remember when silence becomes too loud to ignore. You did not disappear. You endured. And in doing so, you taught again. Not with chalk. Not with weapons. But with presence. I folded it. Placed it inside my Bible. The one Judith gave me in '85. If someone finds it after I'm gone, let it be a seed, not a eulogy. This morning, I watched the sunrise. Really watched it. And I thought. I may not be needed the way I once was. But I am not small. Not in soul. Not in name. Not in the story I carry. And if they ever try to write me off again, let them find this one truth too late. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I waited. And when they finally looked back, I was already standing.